Hey, Bulls and Bears, it is Friday. What is it? October 27th, 2023. Wow, we got a lot to get into today. We're going to talk about the economy, the stock market, um, the GDP numbers that are put out there, something really outrageous and insane that old Yellen said, old Yellen, Janet Yellen. We're going to talk about that here. But first, here's something I am not happy about having to talk about, but we all knew this. I think everybody here knew this was going to happen. This war is escalating. The U.S. is now striking targets here out of ABC. Many news outlets are talking about this. U.S. strikes back at Iranian-backed groups that attacked troops in Iraq and Syria. Right. So it started off, we were just offering funds, right, to countries involved in these conflicts, and then it was okay, thousands of troops are sent over there. We already have bases in over 100 countries, but we're sending thousands of troops over there for this conflict in a service, non combative role. Now, less than a week later, we're striking targets, right? You see where this leads and you see how this is going to escalate. This is going to get worse. And this is coming to U.S. soil. I almost want to say I guarantee it. I'm really, I strongly feel like this is coming to U.S. soil very, very soon. Could be before the end of the year. It's bad enough we have crazed gunmen running around. We don't need any conflicts between different countries. So this is going to be, I think, what's going to bring the markets down eventually. Once this gets really bad, we're going to see the markets come down because of this. I'm not sure how long, but we're seeing things really start to escalate here, unfortunately. All right, let's get on to the economy. Why do I talk about the conflicts that are happening, war, etc.? Well, there's a lot of financial connections here. First of all, war would not even be possible without all the money creation, without the ability to create all this money out of nothing. War would not be possible, right? People would just be spending their money on food, essentials, and things they need to survive. You wouldn't have any extra money laying around to drop bombs. All these countries over there in Europe and in the Middle East, they wouldn't be able to afford all these weapons. A lot of weapons come from the U.S. So, of course, there's a financial basis for all of this. And when you can create money out of thin air, you can build lots of things that normally would not be built. It's pretty insane to think about how much different the world would be, right? So on one hand, it does give us a lot of luxuries, and we couldn't build these big buildings like we do now, and it does allow technology to emerge because you can finance business, and businesses get loans, and businesses create things and make things. And so it can create a better standard of living if it's controlled somewhat. But right now, there's no control. There's no control on the money creation. Also, when it comes to the system of money that we're in right now, which is unlimited, you can create, I shouldn't say you, they can create unlimited dollars at the click of a mouse, trillions of dollars. And what does that do? Well, that creates a lot of waste, and it allows us to prop up businesses that are actually failed businesses that would not survive if it weren't for the bailouts or the propping up, mainly banks. And right now, there's actually bank bailouts happening. The emergency funding program that started back in March when we had a few banks fail, that is still going on right now. All right, here's a pretty recent article describing this emergency bank lending program that's happening still right now. Almost half a year after the Silicon Valley Bank went belly up and nearly set off a national banking crisis, still growing borrowing from a Federal Reserve emergency lending facility gives the appearance of lingering trouble for the financial sector. Not just giving appearance, it gives a obvious clue of what's happening right now. So there's stealth bailouts still happening right now today. The Fed's bank term funding program may result from some overhang from the initial troubles back in March. Yeah, there's still a lot of overhang, folks. These banks are highly insolvent. loaning out money that they don't have. They're allowed to do that. You and I, we're not allowed to do that. They're allowed to do that and charge you and I interest on it when we go borrow some of that money that they just create at the click of a mouse. So it's not just the Fed, the central bank, it's the lending banks, the lending institutions, the Wells Fargos, the Bank of Americas, the Chases, all your community credit unions. They're loaning out money in digital form that they don't have in deposits, right? I just have to make sure people understand this, because this is, it's really insane when you think about it, but it's been so normalized ever since people started banking online and banking on their phones, using digital banking in general. People have just come to, it's been so normalized. It's been so normalized that money has become just a digit on a screen, but most people really don't think about what's behind it. What's behind it? Well, it's nothing except for trust and faith and confidence in your government, right? And in your financial institutions. If people really knew the truth, I think there would be a lot of panic. All right, but let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about what old Yellen said. Old Yeller. She said the following. This is crazy. Yellen says the yield surge. She's talking about the skyrocketing yields. We're seeing close to a 5% 10-year yield right now, is due to a strong economy. How's about no? No, it's not due to a strong economy. It's because no one else is going to buy this toxic junk debt. And now that the Fed's not buying it like they were, they have to increase yields to attract buyers. This is crazy. Benchmark U.S. Treasury yields have climbed to pre-crisis highs. Treasury chief downplays idea budget worries drive bond yields. That's out of Bloomberg. What else did she say? It gets crazier. Another headline here. Yellen says GDP data shows evidence of a soft landing for the economy. GDP? Are you serious? GDP, which increases when people go further into debt. The more people borrow, the better the GDP number looks. She says that's evidence of a soft landing. All right. So you and millions of other people, if you go out and take on a lot of debt right now, maybe you can make the GDP number look better for next month. And that will be looked at as something strong and resilient. You're a resilient consumer because you can swipe your credit card and you can buy Taylor Swift tickets and you can buy Barbies and go see Barbie movies. So that makes you a resilient consumer, and that makes the economy strong, right? This is insane, folks. It's almost laughable. If it wasn't so serious, if it's not going to have such dire consequences, I would have to laugh a lot more than I'm laughing right now. Probably should laugh because otherwise I'll go crazy. U.S. economy glows red hot with 4.9% GDP reading for the third quarter. This is out of Fortune. The nation's economy expanded. Oh, remember, when you go into debt, that's called expansion, and that's called growth. At a robust 4.9% annual rate from July through September, as Americans defied higher prices. We defied higher prices by swiping credit cards and going into debt. Some things we have to buy, some things we didn't have to buy, but we bought anyway, like Barbies and movies. Rising interest rates and widespread forecasts of a recession to spend at a brisk pace. So here's the thing. With consumer spending being the major factor in the piece of data that's looked at to tell if we're in a recession or not, GDP, gross domestic product, with consumer spending being that main one, rising prices actually make the economy look better. Why do you think governments want to inflate versus deflate? Why do you think they want inflation versus deflation? Well, there's lots of other reasons. One reason they want inflation because bloated asset prices makes it to where you have to pay more taxes. You have to pay more taxes on that home that's now double or triple from 10 years ago. You have to pay more taxes because higher wages now, so you're going to be paying more taxes total. Even with that, though, we still have massive budget deficits, even with higher taxes. And not just higher taxes, higher tax revenues. Because if wages are higher, tax revenues are going to be higher. But even with that, deficits are still exploding, still skyrocketing, right? So huge failure wherever you look. The economy's in big trouble. They can use these meaningless numbers all they want to try to convince you that everything's fine, that there's not a crisis around the corner. There's a crisis around the corner, and it's going to be blamed on something else. It's not going to be blamed on, the policies or the interest rate decisions. I can tell you that right now. It's going to be blamed on an expanding conflict, possibly a global World War III scenario, with the battle happening, with a battle coming to U.S. soil. That's what's going to be, I think, the excuse for this market to come down, for this economy to go into heavy, heavy correction mode. All right, let's get into a couple other things here before we wrap it up here. All right, listen to this. CNBC, Hasbro and Mattel shares plunge as toy makers forecast a lackluster holiday season. So if the consumer was so resilient and strong, why are toy makers forecasting a lackluster holiday season? Toy makers Hasbro and Mattel lowered their sales outlooks for the fourth quarter amid tough retail environment. That's because people are getting really close to their credit limits. Here's the thing. We won't see falling GDP and a recession until the banks cut back on the lending, until they reduce people's credit card limits, or at least stop increasing their credit card limits. For the most part, credit card limits are still increasing. It's almost as if there's no fear of failure, because even if banks do fail, they'll just get a golden parachute. We even had one of the executives, I forget which bank, was it Silicon Valley Bank or was it First Republic? Anyways, one of these failed bank CEOs went over to work for a central bank over somewhere in the Middle East. So they got a huge promotion after their bank basically failed. So this is one of the reasons why there's no fear of failure. They're always going to have backstop. They're always going to have a buyout and a golden parachute. And all the leaders of these banks, all the higher level people there, not every person on the front line, not every person working the counter, but the high level people, the upper management, they're all going to have nice, cushy jobs somewhere in the banking sector, somewhere in Wall Street. So there's no fear. So it's very unlikely that the banks are going to just pull back on lending now, because, again, there's no fear of failure. There's no fear of these people getting in trouble or even losing money, because they're going to get a better job probably down the road somewhere. So this is what's happening, folks. It's going to take something big to bring this economy down, or to cause a crash or a collapse. And I think that could be war, could be a big blackout event. All right. So look out for those things, prepare for those things, have 30 days cash essentials out of the system and at your house within reaching distance, right? Where you can get to it in an emergency. Food, water, essentials, survival goods, folks. By the way, Hasbro stock closed down 12% on Thursday, while Mattel stock closed down 8%. Not a good time to be investing in toy makers, because I think toys are going to be one of the last things on the list for people to buy here as we get further into this economic / cost of living crisis. All right, everybody? So strap in and grab your popcorn, because it's going to get very, very interesting. Please like and subscribe if you like what we talk about here in this channel. And we hope to see you back here very soon. I'm out of here, people. Bull, boom, bear, bust. Keep stacking, everybody. Bye.